Hello, David Akoubian, Bear Woods Photography. It is a chilly December morning up here in Bear Woods. I decided to do this outside today. Got a little bit of construction noise off in the distance here, so sorry for that. Today I wanted to just take a few minutes, and I had posted the other day that I was doing a seminar or webinar on winter photography tips. And a lot of people have said, hey, can you do a video? Can you do something so we can all see this? Because they couldn't see the webinar. It was done for a camera club. So I wanted to go ahead and get a little something together just to give you some very, very basic tips, photographing in the winter, photographing in extreme cold conditions especially. Photographing in 32 degrees or something, there's really not a lot you have to do beyond, some basic things like batteries and stuff. But I'm just going to tell you some of the tips that I've learned from mistake a lot of times as to going out and photographing in sub-zero weather even. I photographed in minus 37 degrees in Wyoming on a very brisk windy day, so the wind chill factor was probably below that even. One of the guys who was out there photographing with us actually got frostbite on his cheek from touching the back of the camera. His cheek froze to his camera. We saw him a couple days later with a big sore on his cheek. So I just want to talk a little bit about just some of the things that you should be aware of, keep in mind as you're going out to photograph. First and foremost, I think that keeping yourself mentally ready is a big thing, and that's dressing for it, obviously. I think that number one, wool is king. A nice pair of wool socks, a nice pair of lined boots if you're going to be in snow. You can also, if it's going to be wet that you're going into, there's a thing called Neos. I've got them inside. I should have brought them out. But it's Neos. They're Neos over boots. You can get them to fit over your hiking boots or over your winter boots, and they come up to your knees typically, and you can walk around in creeks to photograph waterfalls. If you go to Iceland, you're photographing on Diamond Beach, it's great to have them. It just is going to keep your feet dry, and it's going to help not get that frostbite in your feet or not make it so uncomfortable that you're having to change socks and everything else. Jackets, when I'm out, I typically, when I'm dressing, I have a base layer on my lower body and my upper body. I use that 32 degree stuff, long sleeve. Then I'll wear like a fleece over it or a non-cotton t-shirt. Cotton is a killer out there because if you start sweating, that cotton's going to absorb the water and freeze up. So I tend to use polyesters and wool blends, preferably. Over that t-shirt, I'll have the fleece layer. Then I wear a lot of times just a down jacket of some sort. And then if it's windy, I will wear a rain jacket, or if it's rainy, I'll wear a rain jacket. The rain jacket that I use is a Frog Togs. I think it's called Tidewater. They've replaced it with something else at this point, Pilot or something. But it's a good thick jacket. It prevents the wind from really giving you a chill. They also make a bib for the bottom half that you can wear. The whole set's probably close to $200, but it's well worth it to keep yourself dry and keep yourself warm. So let's talk about hands, because that's going to be a big thing. I carry several different things with me. I'll carry just a thin underglove liner of some sort. That'll be my base layer. Then on top of that, I can put a pair of fingerless wool gloves of some sort, so that way I can still operate the camera with having the tips of the fingers out. I have also some wool mittens that the tops fold back and uncover your fingertips, so you can wear the liners and these, or just these. And then I have also some gloves, just regular gloves if I'm going to be out there just walking around when I'm hiking or something. The mittens can be a little cumbersome, so I'll wear these. Then I'll have a hat. If you notice, it's kind of pretty. These are all Iceland icewear. They all match. It's important to look good when you're out there photographing as well. So just a nice lined wool hat. I also have a version that's got the ear covers, the ear flaps as well. For extremely cold situations, I have a balaclava, and we'll wear it to go ahead and cover the throat, face, everything, because the face can really easily get frostbitten. You just have to be very, very careful. You've got to wear layers, so you've got to take off layers as you're being active, add layers on when you're being inactive. Standing there, the wind can be the thing that can really get you. So Let's take a second and talk about gear now. So let's talk about the gear. So first and foremost, the most important thing, the thing that fails the most, is going to be batteries. I carry these little Think Tank 2-pack battery holders, and the key is to make sure you put them inside your jacket, close to your body to keep them warm. You want to make sure that the batteries are not in your bag where it's going to get cold, because then the batteries die. I've seen some of the Sony batteries that I've got, they've lasted me all day or close to it, even in very, very cold weather. So the batteries are getting better. They're able to handle the cold better. The worst I ever saw was on the morning it was minus 37. One of the photographers with us was using Fuji. This is not a knock on Fuji or anything else, but his batteries were lasting less than 5 minutes apiece. So, look at the rating on the batteries. Some of the newer Nikons, if you've got the EO15s, I think they are, the newest version of them are made to be better in cold weather. So you want to get those, but always, keep them inside your jacket, so close to your body to keep it warm. That's a key. Not having to touch your camera a lot. Mirrorless cameras are great for winter photography because you're looking at the LCD screen, and I know you can do that on some of the digital SLRs as well using live view. That's the way you want to do it because you don't want to get your face up against the back of the camera. If you breathe on it, it's going to freeze up, and then you have to scrape it off. You're wasting time, and it just it's a pain. How will your camera do in the cold? I've never had it happen even in the coldest weather, but they say that if you're prolonged exposure, you can get the LCD screen can turn blue. Not freeze up, but it'll just turn blue. So one thing I recommend is making it as easy as possible. Carrying some wireless remotes with you. With me, it's the Sony Commanders. I can put them in my pocket. I know where the buttons are at. I can work the autofocus feature. I can do the shutter release, everything while it's in my pocket so my hands are staying warm. Make sure that, just like your regular camera, you are carrying extra batteries with you for your wireless remotes as well. A cable release is good. My only concerns is that when you've got that side of the camera open, if there is some moisture, it can get down in there and freeze up, and it can cause some issues down into the camera, the cable connections as well. So I carry the wireless remotes, extra batteries for the remote. Cleaning the lens, of course, you want a lens cloth. That's going to be your big thing. Get your lens cloth, the rocket blower. You're going to want to use that. Clean the front of that lens off. You don't want to breathe on your lens to clean it off. You don't want to get the breath on it and wipe it off because it's going to freeze. The moisture in your breath is going to freeze on your lens. That's going to create the ice crystals. So you don't want to do that. You want to use this. This is also something that you're going to want to use in an emergency if you have to, in the field, get dust spots off. You're going to use this to blow the dust spots off your sensor. I don't recommend cleaning your sensor out in the field. I don't recommend necessarily cleaning your lens in the field with any type of liquid or any type of solution. Once you're in a protected area without the harsh environments where the temperature's a little more regulated, that's okay. The nice thing with the new Tamron lenses is all of them have a fluorine coating. That fluorine coating's gonna, if you get any type of oil or anything on it, it's gonna come off very, very easily. You don't want to use any type of a harsh substance that's going to damage the multi-coating. I recommend something that I use is the Hoodman. It's 2-part lens cleaning solution. It's a natural lens cleaning. Then there's a dry wipe at the end of it. Again, I don't use these out in the field because, again, it's going to freeze up where the potential is there to freeze up, so I don't want to do that. I do it once I'm in an enclosed area. Same thing with the sensor. Beyond just simply taking the rocket blower and blowing it off, we use these microfiber dry sensor wipes inside, and again in a controlled environment. I carry two sizes, one for the APS-C, one for the full frame. And they are dry, so you're not putting a solution on them, so you're not having to worry about any type of frost or anything forming on the sensor as well. So we've covered cleaning your lens, basically cleaning your sensor, the extra batteries. The only thing we have left is to talk about with tripods and heads. So with your tripods and heads, number one, I recommend carbon fiber tripods. definitely carbon fiber. Hopefully I've been holding all this stuff up high enough. Anyway, carbon fiber, because metal is going to get cold, very, very cold. And you can just touch the metal and see and feel the difference between how cold metal gets and how cold the carbon fiber gets. For my tripod, I do recommend, like I said, the carbon fiber, but I recommend having twist locks. Twist locks to me are easier. You just have to make sure that moisture doesn't get down into those threads, because that can freeze as well. But I prefer that with my monopod. My monopod that I'm using right now has a flip lock on the very top, but it's a very wide flip lock. And what that does for me is, it doesn't let my finger get pinched. The smaller ones are very easy to pinch your fingers, and I have seen it happen. It's happened to me. It's not fun. I like the wider one where you can use your whole hand to close that monopod up. One thing that I do recommend doing, if you're going to be in places where there's ice, make sure you're getting the ones that have the removable spikes. A lot of the tripods, this is fine as well. You can dial this in, dial it down, and you have a spike that comes out of the rubber cap. That's good in a pinch. It's not as sharp as the spikes themselves. So if you're going to be in an icy situation, definitely the spikes are better. But in a pinch, these screwable end tips work fine. Again, I prefer to have the removable feet that you can put the spikes on it. It just is going to be a little bit more secure. So you've got spikes, you've got carbon fiber. Let's talk about the heads for a minute. The way that I found out and discovered, how valuable the Akoubian heads are, if you can see these. I had a situation photographing in very, very cold. It wasn't even below zero, I don't believe. It was, close to zero. And I was photographing and my ball head kept freezing up because the ball itself is metal. There was an enclosed area, so any moisture, anything gets in there, especially if you're breathing on the back of it, it gets down in around the ball, it freezes up and you can't move it, you can't pan with it, nothing works well. So I was talking to the guy who founded Akoubian, Scott Dordick, and we were discussing it, and he said, you got to watch my video on these things. So he literally froze a ball head, busted the ice off of it, and it worked right away. So I'm a firm believer, and you can see how open this area is down here. The panoramic head that I use most of the time is like that. The GXP heads are like that as well. This is the Nomad head. But even though it's open air, everything drains out, so it doesn't freeze up. And I tell you, it's so much of a relief to be able to do it like this versus having to, if you want to pan left, having to turn your tripod to that direction. So the Akoubian head, I'm a firm believer in them. They're fantastic for cold weather. They're just fantastic for all the conditions. So that's what I use, and the reason being is it's so open, any type of moisture that gets in there is released, and you don't have the freezing up when you're out there. And it happens a lot. Again, a key thing when you're out photographing is staying away from the back of your camera, because the closer you are, the moisture and the humidity from your breath is going to get in there and cause it to freeze, and that's going to give you the issues. So great thing to do. Just make sure you've got all that sitting there. I think that is it. We've covered clothing, we've covered lens cleaning, we've covered all this good stuff. So, if you have any questions, drop them down there in the comments. Also, if you don't subscribe to my channel, go ahead and subscribe, give it a like. If you want to get notifications when I have a new video out, there's a little bell down there in the corner below the screen that you can click on and notify you whenever I whenever I post a new video. So again, thank you. Get out in the winter. It's fantastic. We spend time photographing in Wyoming and Iceland. We're going to start doing some Alaska stuff as well. Love to have you join us, but get out. Do some photography. Anyway, any additional tips, leave them down there in the comments for me. I live in North Georgia. There's people that live in the cold areas that have better tips even. Please go ahead and give those to me. I'd love to hear them, love to share them with other folks. Beyond that, thanks. Have a great day. Have a great winter. The holidays are coming up. Have a great holiday season. Again, thank you. We'll see you later.